You don't just move on from a father wound. You carry it in your body, in your voice, in the people you chase and the dreams you abandon. It's invisible, but it controls everything until you confront it. The father wound isn't always about abuse. Sometimes it's about what never happened, the words never said, the presence never given, the warmth you craved but never got. And that absence becomes a weight you mistake as your personality. You learn to survive without what you needed most. You became hyper-independent, proud of not needing anyone. But deep down, you were just trying to prove you were worthy of being kept. You chased success not for joy, but to silence the feeling of not enough. You people-pleased to earn love you should have received You walk into rooms trying to be someone your father might finally be proud of. Even when he's no longer around, his voice echoes. You hear it in your inner critic, in the fear of failure, in the anxiety that you're never quite doing enough. That voice isn't yours, but it's lived in your head for years. The father wound shows up in relationships most brutally. You fall for emotionally unavailable people who mirror the man you could never reach. You mistake pain for passion and distance for death. You become the caretaker, the fixer, the strong one because you were never allowed to just be. Your worth got tangled in your usefulness. Love became something you had to earn, not something you could simply receive. If he was angry, you became quiet. If he was cold, you became warm. You adjusted yourself like a mirror, just to feel seen even if it meant disappearing. You learned love meant performance. Now you overgive, over-apologize, overanalyze just to feel safe. But inside you're exhausted from pretending you don't need what you are always missing. Your nervous system is still wired for his moods. You flinch at raised voices, freeze during conflict, fawn in arguments. That isn't weakness, it's trauma response mistaken as personality. This wound controls how you love, lead, work, and even rest. It whispers, you haven't done enough. Every time you try to pause, you can't relax, because rest was never modeled for you, only achievement. But here's the truth. Healing the father wound doesn't start with him. It starts with the moment you realize you were worthy all along. Not because he said it, but because you're finally choosing to believe it yourself. He may never say sorry. He may never admit what he did or didn't do. But your healing isn't waiting for his accountability. It begins with your awareness. Your grief is valid, even if others had it worse. Your pain is real, even if he provided financially. Emotional absence is still a wound, even when physical needs were met. You're allowed to mourn the dad you never had. You're allowed to say, that hurt, even if you were told to be grateful. You can love him and still name the damage. Both can be true. There's a child in you still waiting to be seen, still waiting to hear, you're good enough, you're loved, you're safe. That child needs you now more than ever, not his approval, but your embrace. Reparenting starts when you stop repeating the neglect. Start speaking kindly to yourself, resting without guilt, and celebrating your wins. Show up for you in the ways he never did. No more chasing people who make you feel invisible. No more explaining yourself to those who don't listen. You are no longer a child begging for attention. You are the one giving it now. Your boundaries will shake people who benefited from your lack of them. That's okay. The healed version of you will lose some things, but you'll gain your soul. Let go of being the adult who still feels 5 years old when criticized. Pause, breathe, remind yourself, I'm not that child anymore. You have options now. You have a voice now. You have power now. You don't have to carry his silence anymore. You don't have to wear his shame like it's your name. You can take off the armor because the war is over and you've survived. The father wound can pass down generations quietly. Sons become distant. Daughters shrink themselves. Families repeat patterns without realizing it. But the cycle breaks with awareness and with you. You are the transitional generation. The one brave enough to face what your father never could. The one willing to sit with the pain so the next won't have to. It's not your fault he never healed. But it is your responsibility to do what he didn't. Not because you owe it to him, but because you deserve peace. Healing doesn't mean forgetting, it means transforming. It means taking what hurt and using it to create something softer. Not for him, for you, and the life you still have left to live. Sit with your emotions. They're sacred. Your anger's valid. Your sadness makes sense. Your numbness isn't broken, it's protective. All of it deserves compassion, not suppression. You may find yourself crying over things that happened decades ago. Let the tears fall. They're not weakness. They're proof that your heart still believes in healing. You may find yourself triggered in the smallest moments. A tone, a look, a sound. Suddenly you're 5 again. Breathe through it. Remind yourself. That was then. This is now. I am safe. Your body keeps score even when your mind forgets. Headaches, tight shoulders, jaw clenching, stomach knots. These are stories your body is still telling. Listen, thank it. Then gently rewrite the narrative. Therapy isn't weakness, it's rebellion. Reaching out for support isn't giving up, it's growing up. Because you don't have to do this alone, and you never should have had to. Some days, your healing will be loud rage, tears, big revelations. Other days it will be quiet, getting out of bed, making tea, choosing not to self-abandon. Celebrate both. You are not too much. You are not too broken. You are not too late. The father wound lied to you. It told you that your emotions were burdens, your needs were annoying, and your dreams were unrealistic. But those were never your truths, they were his limitations projected onto you. Now you're rewriting your truth. It says, I am whole, even with scars. It says, my worth is not up for debate. Forgiveness is not the goal, freedom is. Sometimes they come together, sometimes they don't. Choose whatever gives your soul the most peace. You may never get the apology you deserve, but you can give yourself the closure you were denied. By choosing to heal, you're choosing to live on your terms, not his. Wholeness is not about perfection, it's about integration. You don't need to erase the pain. Just stop letting it define you. You are more than what he failed to give you. And when you rise and you will, it won't be because of what he did. It'll be because of what you did with what he didn't. That's your power. That's your legacy. Sometimes healing means becoming unrecognizable to your past self, the one who stayed quiet, who tolerated, who suppressed. You're evolving into someone who no longer abandons themselves to be accepted. The love you wanted from him may never come in the way you imagined, but love can still flood your life through friendships, community, and your own hands. You no longer need to wait to feel worthy. Look at your hands, they've carried more than anyone knows. They've gripped pain, clenched through anxiety, reached for validation. Now let them hold gentleness, creativity, and but it's still there, waiting to speak truth into the spaces that once suffocated it. Every time you use your voice now, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Speak, even if your voice trembles. Write, even if your story cracks you open. Dance, even if your body feels stiff with memory. Healing comes not when you're ready, but when you begin. Some days you'll feel deep grief for what you missed, the guidance you didn't receive, the encouragement never offered. Grieve that absence like you would a death. It deserves your full mourning. Grief is not weakness, it's reverence. You're honoring what should have been. You're telling your story. You mattered enough to cry for. There may be rage underneath the sadness. Rage at the silence, at the neglect, at how hard you've had to fight to feel okay. Let that rage breathe its holy fire, not shame. You do not owe anyone forgiveness if it costs you your peace. You do not need to keep the door open for someone who never knocked with love. Healing is your closure, not reconciliation. Rebuild your definition of father. Maybe it means safety, patience, curiosity, or presence. Find those qualities in yourself, in mentors, in the world around you. Write a letter to your younger self. Tell them what they needed to hear. Wrap them in the warmth you wished existed. I'm so sorry no one protected you. You never deserved that silence. I see your pain, and I believe you. Let these words become your new foundation. The wound may try to convince you that something is wrong with you, that you're hard to love, too intense, not enough. But that's the echo of someone else's limitations, not your truth. There was never anything wrong with needing love, with wanting approval, with craving warmth. Your needs were never too much, they were just unmet. The shame you carry might not even be yours. It could be inherited, passed down through generations of emotional scarcity. Break that chain, send it no further. When you parent yourself, you rewrite your origin. Every boundary, every no, every moment of self-care is a new chapter. You are becoming the parent you needed. It's okay to feel lost in this process. Your nervous system is adjusting to peace. Chaos was familiar, but peace is where you finally get to rest. You may feel guilty for choosing yourself, for being unavailable to drama, to cycles, to emotional labor. That guilt isn't truth, it's a withdrawal symptom from self-abandonment. Rest is revolutionary when you were taught to perform for love. Lay down, breathe. Let your worthiness be undisturbed by your productivity. You don't need to explain your boundaries to be valid. No is a full sentence, and it's one you're allowed to say without trembling. Every time you catch yourself in old patterns, pause. That moment of awareness is gold. That's how transformation begins. You might crave apology, but what you truly crave is peace. And peace doesn't always come with closure. Sometimes it's just a quiet, firm decision to move on. Your healing may threaten those who benefited from your silence. Let them be uncomfortable. You're not shrinking anymore. Your softness isn't a flaw, it's sacred. It's the courage to stay open in a world that taught you to shut down. Softness is strength returned to its purest form. The father wound often hides beneath perfectionism, trying to be flawless, to never need, to always anticipate. But you are lovable as you are, not as you perform. You are not responsible for your father's healing, not as a child nor now. Your only job is to heal your own heart and protect your peace. Being seen can feel dangerous when you were raised to disappear, but let yourself be seen by yourself first. That gaze of acceptance is your medicine. Practice saying, "This is not mine to carry," with thoughts, shame, projections. Lay them down. You are not here to hold other people's pain forever. One day you'll realize you no longer ache in the same places. You'll still remember, but you'll feel lighter. That's what healing does. It softens. It expands. It frees. If you're a parent now, your awareness is a gift to your children. They don't need a perfect parent, they need a present one. And your willingness to grow is already changing their story. When a memory surfaces, sit with it without judgment. Ask, what is this memory trying to teach me now? Your past still has wisdom for your future. Don't try to fix yourself like you're broken. You're not. You adapted beautifully to survive. Now it's time to live. Let laughter come back into your life. Let silliness return. Trauma taught you to be serious. Healing gives you permission to be light again. When you meet someone who treats you with care, don't push them away. Let yourself receive. You're not too damaged to be loved well. Trust takes time and may feel foreign, but safe love will feel boring before it feels safe. Let it become your new normal. Stop blaming yourself for what he couldn't give. It was never a reflection of your worth. His wounds are not your identity. You can rewrite everything. How you love, how you lead, how you show up for yourself. Your story is still in motion. There's power in naming your pain. Speak it, not for sympathy, but for liberation. The truth will set you free. You are allowed to leave places where love feels conditional, where your wounds are weaponized, where your silence is expected. Healing may not make the past pretty, but it makes your future possible. And that future belongs to the you who never gave up. Let this be the legacy. That you chose truth over illusion. That you chose healing over hiding. That you chose to live fully, even if you had to learn how from scratch. You are the cycle breaker, the pattern shifter, the one who dared to say, "This ends with me." The father wound no longer defines you. Your story is bigger, wider, and filled with chapters he never wrote. And now you hold the pen. You've spent years trying to decode his silence, wondering what you did wrong, why his eyes never saw. But his inability to love wasn't your failure, it was his limitation. The stories you were told about what love looks like would have been wrong. Love isn't fear, control, or silence. It's consistency, warmth, and choice, not obligation. You don't owe your father your happiness, especially if his version of love required shrinking, hiding, or hurting. You can love someone and still walk away for your peace. When you grow up starved for validation, any attention feels like affection. You become fluent in crumbs, but healing teaches you to demand the whole meal. The inner child doesn't just want answers, they want safety. Not explanations, but presence. Not logic, but love. Give that child a home inside you, a voice. A promise that you'll never ignore their cries again, no matter how old you grow. You won't heal by pretending you're okay. Numbness is not a badge of strength, it's a call for attention. True healing happens when you feel what you once feared. Sometimes, the pain returns quietly disguised as indecision, insecurity, or a tight chest. Listen to those whispers. They are your history asking to be seen. Some wounds don't scream, they hum in the background of your choices. Who you date, how you argue, what you believe you deserve. Awareness is your first medicine. The relationship you build with yourself sets the tone for every other bond. When you become kind, patient, and forgiving with your world softens in return. Trauma may have taught you to expect sudden loss, to prepare for abandonment even in safety. It's okay to be cautious, but it's also okay to trust again. Let your scars be symbols of survival, not shame. They mean you were hurt and chose to keep living anyway. That's bravery that needs no apology. You may have inherited your father's fears of vulnerability, failure, connection, but you are not bound to carry what broke him. Your destiny is different. The father wound teaches us to hustle for love, to overachieve, just to be noticed. But love isn't earned, it's remembered. There's a version of you that never learned to receive, only to perform, only to fix, only to give until empty. That version is tired and they deserve rest. Stop romanticizing emotional unavailability. Just because it feels familiar doesn't make it safe. Choose love that sees you, not love you have to chase. Sometimes you stay in pain because it's predictable. The nervous system clings to chaos when calm feels like risk. But healing is learning how to breathe in peace. You don't have to keep proving you're not your father. Just be yourself. That's proof enough that you've already broken the cycle. There will be days when healing feels invisible. No big breakthroughs, just subtle shifts. Celebrate those there bricks in the foundation of your new life. Guilt might arise as you grow, a whisper saying, you're leaving him behind. But the truth is, you're saving yourself, and that's not betrayal, it's survival. You don't need him to see your worth to know it's there. You are not invisible just because he failed to look. Let your life be the loudest answer to the silence you endured. Your joy, your peace, your boundaries, they speak volumes. Boundaries are love letters to yourself. They say, I choose me. I protect what's sacred. Start writing those letters every day. Redefine what success means for you. Not titles or trophies, but freedom, rest, and relationships that don't require performance. Honor the grief when it visits. It means you still care. That love still lives, even if it was never fully returned. Your triggers are sacred maps, each one pointing to a place inside still waiting to be held. Don't avoid them, follow them home. You are not difficult. You are someone who was never fully understood. And now, you're learning to understand yourself. There is strength in softness, power in presence, healing in honesty. Love won't fix the wound, but it can hold it. True love, the safe kind, won't disappear when you reveal your pain. It will stay. It will listen. There is no perfect ending to this story, but there is a beautiful continuation, one where you are no longer defined by his inability to love. The shame you carry isn't yours to keep. Lay it down like an old coat that no longer fits. Walk forward in something warmer. You are allowed to take up space. Loudly, quietly, fully. You are not too much, you were just placed in rooms too small. Healing is choosing to respond, not react, to pause, to breathe, to ask yourself, what do I need in this moment? Then choosing you. Be patient with yourself. You're unlearning decades of survival patterns. Growth doesn't always look graceful. It often looks like trembling in the right direction. Every time you honor your needs, the father wound loses its grip. Every yes to yourself is a no to old programming. You were never broken, just buried beneath expectations, pain, silence, and now you rise. Let your nervous system relearn joy, small doses, laughter in quiet rooms, smiling without a reason. Joy is your birthright. Create rituals of healing. Light candles, take slow walks, journal at sunrise. Not for perfection, for connection. You might cry when someone is kind to you. That's the body releasing disbelief. Let kindness recalibrate your story. Apologize to yourself for all the times you ignored your pain, then promise you won't do it again. That promise becomes your turning point. Your emotions are not inconveniences. When sadness visits, listen. When anger speaks, translate. When peace arrives, honor it. Some relationships won't survive your healing. That's okay. What's meant for your highest self won't require your pain to stay alive. Be proud of the days you wanted to give up but didn't. Healing is invisible work, and you've been doing it, breath by breath. When doubt creeps in, remind yourself, I am not going back. I've come too far. That declaration anchors you in your progress. Wholeness isn't something you chase, it's something you uncover. Beneath the fear, beneath the shame, beneath the silence, he's been there all along. Sometimes healing is rage, sometimes it's rest, sometimes it's laughing in a room where you used to cry. All of it counts. Let your story be messy, human, unfinished. You're not here to be perfect, you're here to be real. And in your realness you're trembling, courageous. Beautiful realness should become unstoppable. Some memories will always sting, even after you've processed them. Healing doesn't mean forgetting it. It means they lose their power to control you. You remember without drowning. The father wound can disguise itself as drive, as ambition, as achievement. But underneath, there's often a desperate hunger to finally be seen. The applause never feels loud enough. Success feels hollow when it's fueled by old wounds. Because deep inside, you're not celebrating, you're trying to prove something. But the only one who ever needed convincing was you. There's a difference between running toward your dreams and running from your pain. One is purpose, the other is escape. Healing helps you know the difference. You'll encounter days when the wound opens suddenly. A scent, a phrase, a look, and suddenly you're 5 years old again. That's not aggression. That's your body inviting release. Trauma has a time machine. It can pull you backward in a heartbeat. But every conscious breath you take is a rebellion against that spiral. You do not have to justify your hurt. You don't need to compare it to anyone else's. Pain is not a competition, it's an invitation to heal. People will tell you, he did his best. Maybe, but his best still hurt you, and you're allowed to say that out loud. Healing doesn't require vilifying him. It requires validating you. The truth can hold complexity. He can be both human and harmful. The hardest part of healing the father wound is realizing how much of your identity was shaped around surviving it. Without the wound, you must rediscover who you are. You've built resilience in the fire, but you weren't born to live in flames. Step into softness now. Step into ease. It's safe to do so. Let yourself be celebrated by people who see your worth without needing a performance. Let love feel safe, quiet, and warm, not earned, chased, or doubted. There is no medal for tolerating what hurt you. Now, your courage is in choosing what nourishes you. The emotional orphan in you still fears abandonment. That fear will whisper lies. You're too much. You'll be left. You're not lovable. Don't believe it. Hold that voice with compassion, not agreement. Start looking at your reflections and seeing the adult you've become. Strong, gentle, capable of giving the love you once longed for. You are not that scared child anymore. Be mindful of how you speak to yourself. It becomes your inner reality. Replace cruelty with curiosity. You were never meant to be your own bully. You may not get closure from him, but you can give it to yourself in the form of truth, grief, boundaries, and release. That's more than enough. You don't need to become hard to be strong. You can be gentle and unbreakable, loving and firm. Softness is not weakness, it's wisdom embodied. Healing means learning to receive without guilt, compliments, kindness, help, affection. Let the goodness in without questioning its legitimacy. That voice that says you're too needy is not yours. It's an echo of someone who couldn't meet your needs. Replace it with your own voice. I'm allowed to need and receive. Every time you treat yourself with patience, the wound loses its grip. You're showing your nervous system that safety exists, that love doesn't have to hurt. Build rituals that reconnect you to your essence. Morning journaling, slow walks, quiet tea at night. These sacred pauses remind you who you are beyond survival. Don't rush this process. Healing is not linear. It will rise and fall like waves. Let them come, Let them pass. You're learning how to swim in your own emotional ocean. There will be seasons of sadness you can't explain. Let them wash through. You're grieving a past that never gave you what you needed. That grief is holy. The wound doesn't go away overnight, but its volume lowers. Its claws retract. Its shadow shrinks every time you choose self-compassion over self. Create space for joy even in small doses. Laughter over a movie, warmth in a blanket, sunlight on your skin. These moments are proof that life still holds magic. Choose relationships that feel like freedom, not fear. That accept you in your rawness. That never require you to earn love or translate your pain. Your triggers are not flaws. They're signals. They tell you where love is still needed, where old stories still run. Listen, tend, reframe. No one can rescue your inner child but you. Don't wait for someone else to fix what they didn't break. You are the safest hands you've ever known. Allow yourself to be proud of the progress no one else sees. The days you didn't spiral, the boundaries you kept, the tears you finally let fall. What broke you doesn't have to build you. You get to choose what parts of the past come with you and which ones you leave behind. Be wary of chasing people who remind you of your father. That familiarity isn't love, it's unfinished trauma. Break the pattern by choosing peace over passion. Safety can feel boring when chaos raised you. Let boring be beautiful. Let quiet be sacred. Let stability be your new high. You're not weak for needing therapy. You're brave for facing what others bury. Healing is heroic, work-silent, unseen, deeply transformative. Your story matters, even if it's not dramatic. Even if no one believed you. Even if you still struggle to tell it out loud, you're not invisible. Sometimes love looks like walking away. Sometimes peace is the most loving choice you can make for both of you. Let go without guilt. There will be moments when you crave the version of him that never existed. That's natural. Mourn it like a ghost. Levitate and let it go. You might feel lonely on this journey. That doesn't mean you're wrong, and it means you're brave. Not everyone chooses to heal you did. Create a life your younger self would feel safe in. Full of warmth, understanding, permission to rest. That is your revolution. Let your body relearn safety. Through touch, breath, stillness. You don't need to live on edge anymore. Your nervous system deserves peace. Start by loving yourself in the smallest ways. Drink water, say kind things. Rest without shame. Small acts compound into unshakable worth. The father wound may have shaped you, but it doesn't define you. You are not just a survivor, you are a creator. And this life is your canvas now.